Okay, during last 8 weeks, we learned together about higher education, starting from GCSEs, A levels, um, access courses, foundation courses, and then undergraduate, postgraduate. We also learned about further education and different kind of qualifications that we have within the UK system, starting from BTECs, then apprenticeship, NVQs, and um, T levels. And then also we learned about um, the pathway to employment, basically how you can enter the career market here in the UK, and starting with voluntary jobs, and then how to look for jobs and where to search for jobs, and then the job application process. And if you remember, last week we've talked about how to read, how to understand, how to break down job adverts, where are the most important sections, the most important parts of a job advert, which, if you remember, it was personal specification, and how to write a personal statement, or how to fill an application form, or how to design your CV in a way that responds to that job advert in order to improve or to increase your chance of being shortlisted for an interview. But before that, again, 2 weeks ago, I showed you a graph showing um, the sort of job application process and employment process in the UK. Usually, everything is, most of the jobs are online. So you go through some websites, you find a job that you are interested in, and you can meet the requirements for that job. You go through that written job advert, you send your application. And if you remember, I mentioned that in the past, it was mainly about your CV. Recently, most of the employers, they don't want your CV. Sometimes even they say don't send your CV. However, it's important to have a good, up-to-date professional CV. But these days, what is more important is your statement, or the way that you respond to that online job application. When you send your application, they read that application and they decide if they want to invite you for an interview. So for instance, if they have 20, 30, 50, 100 job applications, they select the 5 best ones or 5 better ones, and then they invite those individuals to an interview. So it's important to have a good CV. It's important to know how to write a personal statement, or how to fill application forms. And then if you do everything in a professional way, you have very good chance of being invited to an interview, which is almost the final part before having the job offer. Before I start today's session, I would like to take you back to the previous week. So if you remember from this table, most companies, most employers, they make it clear about what they want from you in terms of personal specification. And if you remember, we discussed that it's important to read the essentials and write about the essentials in your application form or in your statement. So the more bullet points of those essentials you address, you write about in your statement, the higher your chance of being shortlisted for the interview. Also, if you have any of those desirables, it's very good to write about them. However, if you don't have them, that's okay. You still can apply for that job, and you have the chance of being shortlisted. But if you don't write enough about essentials. You don't. It's very difficult to get shortlisted for that job. And then most companies, most employers, they make it clear about what they are going to ask you, what they want to see in your application form, and what they are going to ask you during the interview. So, which makes it easier for you to prepare yourself for interviews as well. So it's easily just by reading and understanding and analyzing the job advert, you can predict the interview questions and you can prepare yourself for that interview. So I think in the last, probably in the last 8 years of being here in the UK, I've went to, I think, 10 job interviews. So, and in all of them, like 80% questions were similar. So it's most of the time the structure of the question, what they want to know about you, is similar. So which makes it easier for you to prepare yourself. And then the second part, if you remember, was about the STAR technique. So a very well accepted technique here in the UK in terms of how to write about your skills and about how to answer interview questions. So most of the time, if you start with a situation and then explain the tasks that you had to do during that situation and the actions that you have taken during that situation, and finally explaining the results that you have achieved following those actions. If you follow this in a space of like 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, or in 3 sentences, 2 sentences, a short paragraph, you can explain your skills, your competencies, or answer the interview questions. So this STAR is important both in writing your application and in preparing yourself and answering the interview questions. And again, if you don't remember, this is an example of STAR and how you can use the technique to answer one of those questions. So the question here, it could be in an interview, you will be asked, tell me about a time when you worked well with a team. So that could be an interview question, or you want to write about your teamwork skills in the application form or in your personal statement. So you can follow the technique, and you can say in a short paragraph, like less than 6-7 sentences, you can explain your teamwork skills. Okay, with that in mind, today we are going to talk about preparation for interviews. I will have some slides about LinkedIn, because especially if you're looking for more professional jobs now or after graduation from university, it's very important to have a good digital and professional digital presence. And these days, LinkedIn is a very increasingly growing platform for professionals to introduce who they are, to put their CVs online, to put their profile online and make themselves visible, but at the same time, looking for jobs and making connections as well. So it's important to have those kind of skills. And then if we have time, I'm going to start a short session on entrepreneurship and self-employment. But if we don't have time, we can continue talking about and learning more about entrepreneurship once we come back from Easter break in our week 10. At any point, if you have a question, just switch on your microphone and ask your question. Otherwise, we are going to have enough time at the end of the session to talk about, to go through your questions. Okay, so now you sent your application. Your application was good because you responded to all of those, to most of those essential bullet points. Probably you had some of those desirable skills and competencies. So you wrote about those desirables in your application form or in your statement. The employer, they they found it interesting, and they want to see you face to face to ask some questions, some more questions about your personal skills and experience and background, and how you could be a good team member in their organization, in their company, in their business. So when they invite you to interview, we have three main ways of interviewing. So it could be face-to-face, it could be online. When it's face-to-face, it could be one-to-one. So you go to interview, you see one person from that company. It could be the manager, it could be one of the managers, it could be the HR manager or others. But most of the time it's a panel. So you enter the room and there is going to be a panel of three, most of the time three, sometimes four, sometimes two, but it's most of the time it's more than one person. So you go and there is like a CEO, your line manager, and someone from HR, which is human resources department in that company. If you go, and these skills are very good if you apply for Sanctuary scholarships or any other scholarship, because most of the time, as part of the scholarship process, you need to write it. It's very similar to job application. You need to write an application form and a statement, and if it's good, and if you meet the requirements, they are going to invite you for Sanctuary scholarship interview, or they are going to invite you for any other scholarship interview. So they want to see you face to face and ask some questions face to face. And most of the time it's a panel. So it could be the Sanctuary scholarship coordinator from that university with one of the university senior leadership members, or with someone from one of the lecturers, one of the teachers from the university. And so that's one-to-one. So you meet one person, but most of the time it's a panel, and it could be in person. And increasingly these days, especially after COVID, it could be online. Like this kind of situation, you have three other person online, or Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Skype, or others, and they are going to ask questions through online platform. So make yourself and be prepared to meet at least three other individuals during online or face-to-face in-person meeting. So what they want to know from you and how you can prepare yourself. So first of all, again, as I said, for application writing and a statement writing, similarly, for interview preparation, it's very important to read, to spend enough time to read 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, as many times as needed to understand the job advert, and to understand the personal specification and the tasks, the remit of that job. Similarly, for scholarships, and like for Sanctuary scholarships, it's very important to go through the Sanctuary scholarship page for that university, because different universities may look for different things and understand what they want. Once you know what they want and what they are interested in and what they want to see in you, then it's easier to prepare yourself for that interview. So first of all, understanding what the employer or the university who wants to give you a scholarship is looking for, how you'll meet their needs with evidence. Okay, again, it's very important. For instance, if they want to, like for Sanctuary scholarship, most universities, they want to know more about your current situation, current financial situation. So you should be prepared to explain what is your current situation as an asylum seeker or as a refugee, your sources of income, the financial problems that you have, and they want to know how the scholarship, how you're going to use the scholarship, and how the scholarship is going to help you in your current and future personal and career life. So knowing that, you can prepare your answers, and you can prepare the answers appropriate to the job advert. And again, when it comes to explaining and giving evidence, so you need to give example and following a STAR, situation, task, action, results, is a very good and professional way of preparing yourself. It makes it easy because there is a structure, and it sounds professional to the interviewers and to the employers. The second part is, it is very important to understand your strengths, your competencies, your skills, and your experiences, and being prepared to give evidence. Because again, if you remember from previous session, I asked you about some of your experiences or some of the skills in relation to employability skills. I'm just here, and although you have most of these skills, but it's very difficult to remember them and to recall them, to explain them and to give evidence, unless you are prepared. So I'm sure that all of you are good in communication, okay? But if I ask you, give me an example of being a good communicator, you may find it difficult to explain and to give me evidence, to give me some examples about how good you are in communication. Or most of you are resilient, which means you are very good in coping with difficult situations. The fact that you moved from a country to another country and you started living in a new country with all the problems of language learning, going back to school, going back to job, and so on and so forth, it shows you're resilient. But if you don't know how to explain it, and if you're not prepared to give evidence, to give examples, it's very difficult for others to understand how resilient you are. So most of the time, the problem that I see with the students, they have all of these skills, or most of these skills, but they are not prepared to explain because they didn't spend enough time to think about their skills, how they use these skills in their daily life. So for example, everyone, or most individuals, they have some problem solving skills, because in our personal life, in our daily life, we come across different problems every single day, and we need to find a way around those problems. It could be family problems, it could be financial problems, it could be problems with our neighbors, problems in our workplace. So we have those kind of skills. But if you go to an interview and the from the top of your head, and then it makes it difficult for that person to understand how good you are in problem solving. So what I'm trying to say is, you, or most of the time, you have the skills. If you go to interview, you have those skills. But the problem with most students that I had in this conversation with, they go to interview without being prepared. So it's very important to understand, to spend time thinking about your skills, thinking about how you use those skills in your life, having some examples, having some evidence from your past experiences prepared to answer those questions. And you need to understand the organization. So if you are going to, again, I'll give you an example of Sanctuary Scholarship. So if you're going to University of, say, Birmingham for an interview for a Sanctuary Scholarship, if you show that you've already done some research about University of Birmingham and the strengths of University of Birmingham, the rank of University of Birmingham, how students are satisfied with University of Birmingham, it's going to make a good impression on the interview, the people who are interviewing you. So make sure that you spend enough time to understand yourself, and then the next step to understand the place that you are going for interview. If it's a company, read something about the company, go to their website and look through the website, understanding their culture, their values. If you're going to university interview for scholarship, just spend 10 minutes, half an hour time to go to read about the university and the values, the rank, the qualities, the positive points about university, because most of the time during the interview, one question is going to be about that organization, why you apply to University of Birmingham, why you apply to work in this company, and you need to give some evidence of research on the strengths and the values of the company or the university. For instance, you can say, oh, I would like to be here in University of Birmingham because it's a very diverse university, people from different kind of nationalities, different kind of backgrounds, so it makes it easier for me as an international to fit in, to be more comfortable in my student time. Also, University of Birmingham has a very good reputation with post-graduation employment. So 65% of 70% of students, they find a job 6 months after graduation from University of Birmingham. So I'm sure that being here in University of Birmingham, it's going to increase my chance of having job post-graduation. So just by searching for some good points about the university, you are going to make that good impression. So never go to an interview without being prepared to talk about yourself and without being prepared to talk about the place, the university, the company that you are going for an interview. And there are some practicalities. So if you go to an interview in person or online, face-to-face with one person, with a panel, there are some interview etiquette, okay? There is interview conduct that you need to have in mind, being formal, dressing formal, knowing the location, being there on time. It's if you prepare yourself perfectly, if you spend 2 weeks preparing yourself to answer those interview questions, but turning up 5 minutes late or 10 minutes late, it's going to ruin everything. Or if you go there without being dressed in a formal way, it's going to make a bad impression, however prepared you are. So make sure that you are prepared and you are there on time, you are there and you go there dressed formally, and consider that as a formal interaction. Okay, so probably you're not going to make jokes or these kind of things during a formal interview. Okay, what kind of questions they are going to ask you? Before I go through the questions, any question from you until now? Okay, hopefully by now you understand how important it is to read. Okay, most of the time students, they complain about, oh, I sent 10 job applications, nothing back, or I haven't heard of any of those employers. Most of the time the problem is they don't spend enough time reading, especially if it's your second language. It's very easy to not to see some details. That's why you need to spend more time. You need to read 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, you highlighting things, underlining things, making sure that you understand every single point of the job advert, and then you respond to all of them. So spend enough time to read and to understand. When you go to interview, either for a scholarship or for job, most of the time there are 4 different types of questions. Okay, usually interview is going to last between 45 minutes to 1 hour, not more than that, usually 45 minutes. And they often start with warm-up questions. Okay, this is just for you to feel comfortable and at the same time having some opportunity to introduce yourself. And most of the time, this is one of the most important questions, although it's about you, but the way that you are going to start the interview and the way that you are going to introduce yourself and present themselves and market yourself to them, it's important, and it's going to affect the rest of your interview. So it's very important to be able to present yourself in a good way and in relation to the job that you're applying for. Okay, again, in the past, because you think it's easy to introduce yourself, so most of the time people think, oh, I'm going to interview, I introduce myself. But in reality, if I ask you to introduce yourself for 30 seconds or for 1 minute, most of the time you start good, but after 10 seconds, after 20 seconds, you run out of words. You don't have anything else to. So most of the time, oh, I'm Amir, I'm from here, I studied this, I worked here, and then that's it. You will have problems in going further and introducing yourself for at least for 1 minute. So don't think that warm-up questions are easy. You need to be prepared, and those warm-up questions, they should be about the job application or the sanctuary scholar or any other scholarship application. If you introduce yourself as a Manchester United fan and talking about your hobbies, it's not going to help you during that interview. The way that you present yourself needs to be linked to that job opportunity or a scholarship application. The second part is asking about your competencies, your skills. Again, going back to the job advert, to that table, if you remember. So they are going to ask you about your employability skills, communication, problem solving, team working, taking initiative, any of those 9 employability skills that we had in that skills wheel. Most of the time they want you to explain your skills. And if you remember, it's very important to be prepared, not just saying that how good you are. So just tell me about a time when you have made an effective contribution to a team. So here, the interviewer, they want to see your teamwork skills, okay? And it's not enough to just say, oh, I'm a good team worker because I've worked in a team for 5 years or 10 years. They want specifically the structure of question, tell me about a time, okay? They want an example. So you need to have an example prepared following the STAR structure. The best way that you can do it is from today, spend some time, find one example for each of those 9. Okay, so we have 9 employability skills. 99% of the time, you are going to have some questions about those skills in any interview. So have a piece of paper, have 9 skills written on that piece of paper, and write one example for each of them. And then you can use that in any interview, regardless of the job, basically. So if you're going for any kind of job and they ask you about teamwork, you can use the same example for all the interviews. So spend 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, write one example for each of those skills, and you'll be fine for the rest of your career life when going to interviews. There are some scenario questions or hypothetical questions about giving you one kind of scenario in future. So for instance, we are going to give you this job, but if you you come across some problems, how you are going to solve them. So, or a very common one, why would you do in a situation where one of the team members is sick and cannot come to the shift. Okay, so how you are going to solve that problem having that scenario. So again, you need to be prepared to answer these kind of questions. And then challenging questions, so just putting you in a challenging situation, and they want to see how you are going to handle those challenging situation. Tell me about something that hasn't gone well. So if you had an order and customer, they called last minute and they canceled the order, how you managed to handle that situation. Okay, so always be prepared for these warm-up. It's 100%, and you're going to have competency, scenario, and challenging questions as well. The best way, write those examples on a piece of paper and prepare to give examples. Okay, there is nothing better than giving examples from your previous job. It could be a paid job, it could be volunteer job, it could be from your personal life, or it could be an example of when you were a student in university or in high school. So these are the questions. And again, when you finish the interview, they are going to give you some time. This is for you to ask any question that you may have. And it's very good to have some questions ready to ask, okay? If you say no, that's okay, but it's going to make a better impression if you have 1 or 2 questions ready to ask, okay? It shows your confidence, it shows that you're prepared, and it shows that you have more interest in the future of that role or in that scholarship or university offer. So you can have some questions about the job, or you can have some question about how you're going to be promoted, or the development opportunities that you have. So most of the time, you can ask, oh, is there any training available as part of the job, or how the promotion system works within your company. So these are going to be some general questions, but it shows your interest in that job. If you say no, and other applicants, other interviewees, they ask some questions, they are going to have to be in a better place, better situation than you, because they could show their confidence, their interest in that job. What I have done here, I added 3 links. If you Google interview questions, you find millions of websites with interview questions, and some answers to those, or the best ways of answering those questions. There are loads of videos on YouTube, which I suggest you go and watch. But I added 3, which I found quite well, considering the interview questions here in the UK. So if you go through any of those links, when you have slides, you will have the most common job interview questions, and the best way, the best strategies, and the best techniques to answer those questions. The second one is from National Carrier Service, which you are aware of by now. And again, if you go through all of those 3 websites and other websites on internet, you will see that most of the, like 90% of questions are similar. So you will see overlaps between the questions and the way that you answer them. So it's mainly about preparation. Questions are similar most of the time. The way that you answer them, it's similar most of the time. The only thing is you need to be prepared. Okay, again, preparation is the key. I would like to go back to this table and just remind you of how to predict questions. So most of the time during the or through the job advert, the employer is going to make it clear about what they want from the person specification, and they make it clear how they are going to evaluate that person, whether it's through application process, sending documents, or interviews. If they mention interview in relation to any of those skills, you need to be prepared for one question about that skill or about that competency. So for example, here, they need some essentials. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bullet points. And in method of testing, they say application form and interview. Okay, so you need to write about all of these bullet points in your application form, and they are going to ask one question or probably two questions about this. So it could be about bullet point 1, it could be about bullet point 4, it could be about bullet point 3. You don't know, but you need to be prepared for any of those. And if you follow my advice on writing down nine employability skills and having one example for each of them, you are going to be fine in most of the interview questions. Okay, because again here they want to see your multitasking skills, or they want to see your communication skills, or they want to see your teamwork skills. So if you have examples, you are prepared for any question about them. But in table in row 3 for education qualification, they say just application form. There is nothing about interview. So they are not going to ask you about your qualification during the interview. You don't need to be prepared. You only need to write it in your application form. So again, going back to the job advert and personal specification part, it's quite easy to predict what questions they are going to ask and to prepare yourself accordingly. Another job advert, and as you can see, sometimes they mention interview, sometimes it's application form or any other way of evaluation. So here they say interview for skills, so communication, team working. Again, most of the time these are similar. So I try to show how similar interview questions could be, and if you prepare yourself for one, you are going to be prepared for other interviews as well. So spend that 1 hour, 2 hours, write down your skills, employability skills, prepare one example following a star, and you will be fine. These are some practical advice about how to prepare yourself. First, practice, okay? I can't say how important it is to practice. Okay, never go to an interview without practice. Answer the questions, or if you have anyone to answer those questions from you, ask someone to answer that question. Put yourself in that situation and try to answer, especially because we are going to those interviews using our second language, English. It's very important to be prepared. It's difficult to be spontaneous. It's difficult to start speaking randomly in your second language. Okay, you need to be prepared, and you need to go through those conversations a couple of times to make sure that you can recall and you can say and express everything that you want to say. Many times I had students coming out of interviews and saying, oh, I forgot to say this, I forgot to say that. I wish I remember to say that. The main point, the main problem is they didn't spend enough time to prepare themselves and to practice. Write down the most important thing that you can do for yourself in preparation for interview. Write everything that you want to say down on a piece of paper. Okay, it makes it easier for you to remember and to recall, and it makes it easier for you to practice, because every time you can have those piece of papers and reading, just by reading them, you're going to have them in memory and makes it easier for you to recall. If you are comfortable with recording yourself, just record yourself, watch yourself, watch those recordings and see the points that you can improve. And try to have your family members, your friends, especially if you, for us, if we can find someone whose first language is English, that would be very helpful, okay? They can better, that they can give you better feedback, basically. So in terms of your performance during the interview. So practice, write down, role play. So in front of mirror, record yourself or ask someone else to interview you. And if you do it a couple of times, then you need less time for preparation for next interviews. So probably the first interview that I went to, probably I spent, I'm not sure, 1 week, 2 weeks to prepare myself. But nowadays, if I want to go to an interview, I can do it probably 1 or 2 days. I can prepare myself because of that experience, and I can use most of those materials, most of those preparations in my future interviews as well. Any question before I go to the next slide, which is about how to introduce yourself?
Amir,
Please, Magbula.
I'm asking for the university offer interview. Would that look like same like a job interview?
It's very similar to job interview, yes, in terms of preparation. Okay, so you need to, when you go for a university interview, you need to go through the, if it's for a scholarship, they, in the scholarship page on their web page, they say what are the requirements to apply for that scholarship. Okay, so most of the time they say we need someone with these kind of skills to apply. So it's important to go and read the scholarship page and to understand the requirement and what university wants from applicants, and prepare yourself based on those requirements and those criteria, basically. Okay, so preparation is same, and most of the time questions are similar. So they want to know who you are, they want to know about your skills, your situation, your plans for future, and so on and so forth. Okay, so the preparation is similar, but so if you go to a scholarship for university, especially for Sanctuary Scholarship, most of the time they want to know about you and your situation as an asylum seeker or as a migrant, and why you want to study and what are your plans for future, which again, if you go to the web page of the university, they say the same thing in their application form, and you need to be prepared to answer questions. So the point is, Magbula, read the content and prepare yourself to answer. It could be for university, it could be for job. But the interview is about the content that they give you. It could be in a job advert, it could be in a scholarship advert, it could be on university webpage. Always be prepared for this content. There is not going to be anything out of this. Sure, okay. Does that make sense, Magbula?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so always read, understand, and be prepared for that. Everything is within the content that is available by the employer or by the university. Any other question? Okay, so as I said, most of the time, or almost always, the first question is about you. Introduce yourself, or tell me more about yourself, or these kind of questions, to give you a space to introduce yourself and to feel more comfortable, to break the ice, and to start the rest of questions. And it's very important. It looks easy to introduce yourself, but it's very important how you're going to introduce yourself in relation to that job. And it's very important to give away appropriate information, relevant information about yourself during the first 30 seconds or 1 minute of interview. And it's not just important for interview, it's very important, the skills to learn for networking. Because as you start building your professional life, you go to meetings, you go to workshops, you go to university, you meet other people, and it's very important to be prepared and confident to introduce yourself and make those connections and links which you're going to use late in your future career and in your future life. So being prepared to introduce yourself in a professional way, it's a very important and useful skill to have, both for job application, for a scholarship application, but as a professional, to be able to confidently introduce yourself. So when you go to interview, most of the time, the first question is, tell me a little about yourself, or why should I hire you? So the wording, the structure of question could be different, but the answer is similar. So they want to know more about you, and they want to give you a space to introduce yourself. And in your answer, in your response, you need to present to the panel or to the person who you are. Okay, and you need not only to say who you are, but you need to come across as interesting to that person. Okay, that's why you need to be relevant. If you remember a few minutes ago, I mentioned the example of Manchester United. If you go to a scholarship interview and they ask you, tell me a little bit about yourself, and if you say, oh, I'm here and I'm from there, I studied this, I'm a Manchester United fan, I play football in my time, it's not going to come across interesting because it's not relevant. Okay, if you go for an interview to become like a someone working in Old Trafford, the stadium, that's something relevant. Okay, being a Manchester United fan can make you relevant to that job. But if you go for a scholarship, there you need to talk about yourself from the capacity of a refugee, of a migrant, or as an asylum seeker, to make it more relevant and to make it more interesting. Okay, so if you go for a scholarship, Sanctuary Scholarship, make sure that you talk about yourself as someone who had to go through changing countries, one countries, two countries, the problems, and then the kind of efforts that you've been doing in order to return to university or return to job. That's what makes it interesting to those individuals. A very good technique, same as a STAR, there is a good technique to prepare yourself for the first question, known as Me in 30 Seconds. If you Google it, or if you go to YouTube and search for Me in 30 Seconds, there are thousands of videos, very good videos, about how to introduce yourself in 30 seconds and just include all the information that you need within your answer just in 30 seconds. Okay, so make sure that you go online and you search for Me in 30 seconds, watch some videos, and then try to prepare yourself in the same way. And you don't believe it, but 30 seconds is enough to say everything about yourself in relation to that situation, to that job interview or scholarship interview. So make sure you go to YouTube. I add some links for you, but you can easily find them, and watch some videos about how to introduce yourself in an interview using Me in 30 seconds. And during that time, if I want to give you a structure, during the first 30 seconds and in introducing yourself, you need to say your name, what you do, what interests you, what's in it for them, so how you are a good so that you're linked with that job application or with that scholarship, And if it's for networking, you can ask a question. If it's for interview, you don't need to finish with a question. But most of the time, if you're networking, you are going to end with a question. Oh, what about you? Or what do you do? Can you tell me more about yourself? So if it's about interview, your name, what you do, what interests you in that job in relation to your previous jobs or previous education, and then how you are linked with what they want, okay? How you're linked with that job or with that scholarship. Akbar, do you have a question?
Yes, good morning. Yes, I have a question. As you said
Please.
that uh, when you're going to interview, they will ask you that uh, tell me about yourself and why we should hire you. So how these two questions are similar? I mean, how can you answer this? You said that it's you need to answer is the same. So you need to introduce yourself. So why we should hire you? It doesn't mean about your skills or
No, so the point is they can ask that question in different ways, okay? So sometimes they start the interview by saying that, oh, tell us a bit more about yourself. This is a very common way. But sometimes they start with saying that, why should we hire you? Okay, you can use that question for introducing yourself. Oh, you should hire me because I'm this is my background, this is my interest, and these are the kind of skills that I have, which makes me an interesting for you. Okay, so regardless of how they start the interview, either by asking, introduce yourself, tell us a bit more about yourself, or why should we hire you, or any other way of starting, most of the time, your technique, your strategy is going to be the same. So you start the interview by introducing yourself, saying that, oh, why you should hire me? Because I have 5 years of experience in this. I want to study this. I have some plans. I have these kind of skills, okay? Which showing that what is in it for them, what is in you for them. Does that make sense?
it's a little bit confusing, sir, because I think, in my opinion, why we should hire you is like you're asking about your skills and abilities, and tell me about yourself, like introduce yourself. Uh,
So
I'm lost.
as part of introducing that's why introducing yourself is about your skills and competencies as well. Okay, so introducing, if you are going to say, if they ask, tell me about a bit more about yourself, and you say, oh, my name is Akbar, I'm something years old and I'm from here, that's it. It's not a professional way of answering that. Okay, they want to know you as a professional. They want to know about your skills as well. So you should start with giving a general overview of you, who you are as a professional. And as part of that, you need to give your experience. Oh, I've worked 5 years in this field. I studied in this field. I did this trainings in this field. Then it gives them a space to ask more specific questions. Okay, tell us about your time management. Tell us about your team working skills. So that's the whole point. You need to have enough content for 30 seconds up to 1 minute. Okay, and if you just introduce yourself, that's just 10 seconds, 20 seconds. You need to explain more and give that general overview of who you are. That could be in response to tell us about yourself, or why should we hire you, or any other opening questions. Basically, if you go to those links, you will find different kind of openings, but most of the time in response to those openings, you need to give that general overview of yourself, your skills, your background, your education, your previous employment, and so on and so forth. But most of the time, it's about tell us about yourself or introduce yourself.
Yes,
Okay,
thanks. So it makes sense now.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah, so just be prepared to go beyond who you are as in terms of age or nationality or education. It needs to be more. You need to have at least 1 minute content to talk about yourself. So me in 30s, watch the videos. So first of all, and these are some more practical points or tips about preparation. Speak in the present tense, remember your audience, avoid common claims such as I'm this, or just making claims without evidence. We talked about this before. And just speak naturally, okay? Be yourself. And the best way to, that makes you feel natural is preparation, okay? So you need to be prepared to present yourself in a natural way. If you go through videos that I'll share with you, it's easy to understand, and then you have this structure to prepare yourself. I added 2 written statement, how to prepare, how to present yourself if you are going to a networking event or if you are going to interview. And you need to have this written on a piece of paper like this, okay? One good practice that you can start is, now you know that what is your first question. Go and write your answer for that question down on a piece of paper. So for instance, if you go to interview and they ask you about, tell us a bit more about yourself, and you introduce your name, your age or whatever, then you can continue with saying that I'm a dedicated person with a family of 4, personal information. I enjoy reading, and the knowledge and perspective that my reading gives me has strengthened my teaching skills, okay? This is for a teaching job. Just giving that general overview of why they should hire you, because you have teaching skills as a result of your interest in reading, and presentation abilities, again, giving those skills out and away, okay? And showing why they should hire you. I have been successful at raising a family, and I attribute this success to my ability to plan, schedule, and handle many different tasks at once. In one sentence, just giving and presenting 3 main employability skills. With example of managing a family. This flexibility will help me in the classroom. Again, talking about he's a flexible or she's a flexible person. In relation, linking that with classroom, make it relevant, okay? So he's not talking about Manchester United. It's a teaching job, talking about classroom, where there are many different personalities and learning styles. Again, his or her understanding of being a teacher and dealing with different personalities. In a short paragraph, in less than 30 seconds, the interviewee, covered all of those employability skills linked with teaching and linked with her or his personal situation, talking about family, talking about reading, talking about presentation skills. And as you can see, again, a very good example for Akbar as well. This could be in relation, tell us about yourself. This could be in response to why should we hire you? The point is, in that first 30 seconds, for first 1 minute, you need to make the first impression in a powerful way, just presenting as many of those skills possible with link to the job and with good example. It will make a difference. And please, as soon as you can, start writing your main 30 seconds and start practicing that, because you are going to use it in thousands of situations in your future life, personal life, career life, going to meetings in university. Every time you see a new person, you can use that statement for networking as well to introduce yourself and make a good impression. Is it clear what do I mean by me in 30 seconds and how you can prepare and the structure of the statement? Any
Yes.
Any question?
No, thank you.
Okay, so what we are going to do, I'm going to give you 5 minutes break. It's 11:05. We come back. Don't disconnect. Just leave everything as it is. Take 5 minutes break. and come back 10 past 11. In the meantime, if you have a question, I'm here to answer your questions. Okay, we almost covered the main steps in finding, applying, and having a job here in the UK, including job finding, sending the application, preparing for interview, and if you do everything fine, you may get a job offer, okay? Don't think that if you do everything as best as you can, you are going to have the job, because at the end, it's about competition. And there is always a chance of others being more competent, being more experienced, and being more skillful than you. So don't be disappointed, and don't think if you don't get the job, or if your application has been rejected, you are not good, or if you have done something wrong. There could be something that you could do better, but even if you do everything perfectly, at the end of the day, it's a competition. And I would like you to understand that. So for any scholarship, for any job opportunity, there is competition. You need to do your best to win that competition and to be ahead of other applicants, but there is always chances of others being better than you. So don't be disappointed, and don't stop applying for other jobs and other scholarships and other opportunities. There is one opportunity for sure for you, and you'll find it. The point is, don't stop. Keep applying, keep making yourself better, keep improving your application, your statement, your CV, keep preparing yourself better for interviews, and you will find your way at some point, I'm sure. There are some other points that I would like you to learn about and to start practicing, which helps you in winning that competition, and in being more visible, more accessible compared to other people, other applicants or other competitors. And a very good one, especially these days, as we are more using social media, is LinkedIn, and having a LinkedIn profile and having a professional LinkedIn presence. LinkedIn, as many of you know, and some of you, I know that you're on LinkedIn, you have your own LinkedIn profile, is a social media for professional use mainly. So we have Instagram, we have Twitter, we have Facebook, we have TikTok. These are all social medias like LinkedIn, and they have different kind of applications, some for personal use, some for business use, some for fun, some for friends, some for family. But LinkedIn is a social media which is designed to connect professionals together, to connect people with jobs, people with job opportunities, people with organizations, and people with career development and professional development opportunities. And for that reason, if you're trying to establish yourself as a professional person, it could be as a student in something, it could be as a, like Hala, she's trying to she's she is an architect from back home. She's trying to establish her profile here in the UK as an architect, and beside learning and going to university and working and having experience, a good way is to have a LinkedIn profile to establish your personal brand as an architect, and then try to connect to people with similar backgrounds, and connect to employers, and connect with organizations, and connect with education opportunities, and so on and so forth. So I suggest you now, or in the future, if you don't have LinkedIn, even as a university student, start creating that personal brand through LinkedIn, which makes it so if you send an application to an employer or to a university, one thing that most of the time they do, especially if they want to invite you to interview, they Google you. Okay, many or most of the employers, they Google people who want to invite to the interview. And if they see a good professional presence from you over LinkedIn, it's going to increase your chance of going to interview and having the job offer. And it's some extra space for you to present yourself, because you cannot write about everything in your application. You cannot write about everything in your CV. You cannot write about everything in your statement, but you can add whatever you want to your LinkedIn profile. And then it's available there for employers, for universities to go and read what they want from your LinkedIn profile. So that's a good opportunity. And if you can use it in a good way, it's going to help your application process. So it helps you for personal branding, for networking, for job search, and for career information. So everyone who wants to know who you are, they can just Google you. And if for job, it's better if they can see your LinkedIn instead of your Instagram, where you have some photos of your family or some photos of the last time that you traveled to, I'm not sure, Liverpool. Okay, so if that's important, and you need to think about it, what employers are going to see from you if they Google your name. And are you comfortable with employers seeing that at the top, or do you want them to see something else? If you want them to see something else, work on your LinkedIn profile. And if you work on your LinkedIn profile over time, then when they Google your name, the first thing that they see is your LinkedIn account and your professional profile. So it's a good practice to do as well. Just Google your name and see if anything comes up or not. If not, you need to start building that personal brand through LinkedIn. If something comes up and you're not comfortable with, try to again work on your LinkedIn so that LinkedIn becomes at the top of the Google search when someone Googles your name. Just make sure that you Google your name to see anything comes up, or if you feel good about what people can see when they Google your name. It's very good platform for networking. So for me, I suggest everyone to use LinkedIn, not because just LinkedIn is a good place, because I've been using LinkedIn for the last few years and it's always been helpful. I can't say how many opportunities I found through LinkedIn, or how many new people I found through LinkedIn, how many conferences, workshops, trainings, scholarships I came across through LinkedIn, because people share these things on LinkedIn rather than on Instagram or Facebook. In terms of job search, you can link with companies that you would like to work with, and every time they have a job opportunity, they are going to send that job opportunity through LinkedIn, and you're going to get some notification about that. And about careers information, because you have all professional disciplines there on LinkedIn, and if you keep reading those posts and those information, it's going to improve and increase your understanding and awareness of different careers here in the UK. So if you don't have it, and if you're looking to become like a professional person here in the UK, LinkedIn is a good platform to start establishing your professional brand and making yourself visible to employers. I don't want to spend much time on LinkedIn because it's quite easy, especially how to start your profile and your page. Especially most of you are aware of other social medias, but these are the steps. So you need to start creating your profile, making connections with other people based on the interest, same jobs, same education, same interests. There are thousands of groups on LinkedIn. You can join some groups which links you which link you with other like-minded people with similar backgrounds. So there are loads of groups about architecture on like UK architecture, or I'm not sure, architects of Manchester. So if you just search for them, you'll find many of those groups. And when you join one of those or more of those groups, they are going to keep you in the loop of future opportunities. If they have any meeting, if they have any training, if they have any job opportunity, you are going to have those information in your LinkedIn account or in your mailbox. You can follow some employers if you would like to work for, I'm not sure, Bristol City Council. They have a page on LinkedIn, and you can just follow them. If they have any job opportunity, you are going to be notified about that. People can recommend you. So something that I usually do for my students, if they ask, I go and recommend them, which makes them more visible to employers. And LinkedIn is a very good platform for job search as well, especially for professional jobs. So same as Indeed, which I showed you a few weeks ago, you can search for jobs and you can apply for jobs on LinkedIn as well. Any question about how to use LinkedIn? I'll add a video to the slides when I send the slides to you, and you can watch the video which shows you the step-by-step way of starting your LinkedIn profile and what you need to have in mind when developing your LinkedIn profile, in terms of like profile picture, how to add previous education, how to add previous employment, and so on and so forth. Just show me hands. How many of you have a LinkedIn profile? Anyone here?
No, for me, I don't have.
Okay, I think that's a good way. Again, practicing application writing, CV writing. LinkedIn is a good way of starting, because you can add everything to your LinkedIn, and you can have you can print a CV out of LinkedIn. Okay, let me just, for instance, I can.
Hello.
Any question?
Yes, I have tried to download the app, but they are telling me I'm seeing so many things: LinkedIn, job chat, and news.
Yes.
LinkedIn development, and they are showing me so many things. Let me read them for you.
Yeah, just the best way is, don't start from app, Madusa. Okay, when I send you the video, just follow those step-by-step instruction. Just go to the website, sign in or sign up, make your profile, and then start using the app. Okay, it's difficult to start from app. Start from the website, the LinkedIn website, as you can see. So when you have, this is my LinkedIn, which I think you can see on your screen. When you have your profile ready, okay, you can just change it or download it as your CV, and you can share it with others. So you don't need to have a separate CV. Most of the time, if you have everything on your LinkedIn profile, then you can download it as your CV. Or in many job search websites, they want you just to share your LinkedIn with them. You can just copy and paste your LinkedIn address in their web page, and from there you can go and see your profile. So if you have a good LinkedIn, then you can use it for different opportunities. Here you can see, you can save it as a PDF, or you can build a CV, a resume out of your LinkedIn page. So it makes it easier for you to establish and to keep it up to date over time. Everything that you have something new, you can add it to your LinkedIn. And if you need a CV, you can just download it from your LinkedIn as a PDF file, and then you can share it with others. But the best advantage of LinkedIn is linking you with others and making you visible. And if there is any new opportunity, you are going to know more about that. Any voluntary opportunity, any job opportunity. Like here, I can see like Refugee Action, they have a new job opportunity if someone is interested in that job. And I'm not sure, sometimes there could be a new article that I would like to read, and some new trainings that I would like to go to, and so on and so forth. So very good platform if you know how to use it for building your professional brand and connecting yourself with job opportunities, with others in the same sector, and with the employers. So again, make sure that you spend some time now or in the future on using LinkedIn for professional purposes. Any question?
Yeah, I've tried to browse it. You're telling me to join or sign in. Welcome to your professional community.
Yes. So did you sign in? So you need, if this is your first time, you need to sign up.
Okay.
Just go for sign up, and then they ask you your email, they ask you your name, surname, probably date of birth, password, and then you can create your personal account.
Okay. So, but
Okay.
there is sign up here. That's me. I have to do the join now because I have joined now and sign in. I don't have account with them.
Yes, you need to create that account. If you don't have, you need to create it. And the video that I'll send, Madusa, that video shows you a step-by-step how to create the account, okay?
Okay, okay.
Yeah, just watch the video and just follow the instructions step by step. Okay, the next part is about entrepreneurship, but we don't have enough time to go through entrepreneurship because it is going to take half an hour or more. So I leave entrepreneurship for our final session when we come back from Easter in 2 weeks' time. I think it's Monday, 17th of April, our next session, if I'm not mistaken. But you're going to have 2 weeks of break. Please, if you have time, go through the previous slides, previous videos that we shared with you on YouTube. Go through the content material links. And if you have any question, bring your question to our final session, okay? That's our final session and the best place to answer your questions before your graduation, okay? So for our final session, I'm going to use the first half of the session for entrepreneurship and some other materials. And then the second part, so we are going to spend probably half an hour, 45 minutes responding to your question. So if you have any question, any question about employment, education, application, life as an asylum seeker or refugee here in the UK, anything that you would like some more information about, just bring your question to our next session. Any question for now?
Yes, sir.
Go on, Madusa.
So it's concerning those colleges that is it possible for me to use my NVQ to apply to the university for scholarship?
So what NVQ do you have? What is the level of your NVQ, Madusa? It depends on how many NVQs do you have and the level of your NVQ.
I have one back home because normally we used to sit it at as general exam for you
Okay.
to have access to the university back home or college.
Okay. So do you know the level? Is it level 2, level 1, level 3 NVQ?
Level 1 because I used it to go to college to do
Okay.
my collaborative course, but I did not finish my course before traveling. So
Okay.
I don't want to, but I finished my year 1. I was almost at the end of year 2.
In college.
Yes.
In which college?
Mitimaga University. Now it's university. They have changed it to university last
Okay,
year.
just bear with me a second.